Hello, and welcome to the Transport Room. My name is Chris Garris, and I'm your host. Today, we are joined by my friend Jen from the United Kingdom. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. It's been a while. Haven't seen you since we were in Dallas.
I know, that feels like such a long time ago now.
So, I want to thank you for agreeing to come on here and, just talk about Star Trek in general and how you got involved in it and what brought you to it, the fandom, a little bit about yourself, like you said, things you've done, favorite episodes, favorite series, all that type of stuff. So, I can tell you what got me started was actually Star Wars into sci-fi. We have to be nice. They're both good franchises. And as I was talking with someone recently, I think that's what got a lot of people into sci-fi and Star Trek, at least in our age group, and TOS for sure. But then when it came to series, my first real series to get to watch was Star Trek: The Next Generation when it came out, because it was really the only one that was being broadcast on the local affiliates down here where I live. So I remember watching it after it always came on after the news. So I would have to stay up late. And what would really be annoying was when they decided to preempt it for something else or who knows why they didn't show up, because it was in syndication. So, so what would be your favorite series if you have one?
Oh, jumping straight
to all this.
To favorite series.
Sure.
Okay, well, I mean, I got into Star Trek. My dad and my sister went to see Star Wars. So Star Wars was their thing. So Star Trek, being spacey, became my thing. Cool. My favorite series for such a long time, I'd have to say Voyager was my favorite series. And I know
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I think that could be a bit controversial. As I've got more involved with the Star Trek community, it feels like Voyager wasn't necessarily the most popular choice. But yeah, that was the first series that I actually sat down and actually watched with intent. And what I loved about it is that it's about being pushed out of their comfort zone. When you think of Star Trek and they fly around and they get involved in stuff, they have fights, they make friendships and stuff. It's really easy to have that bravado of we're here when you've got the backup. So,
correct.
If they get into trouble, they can put out a distress call and an ally or the Federation will come and help them. And so when they got pulled into the Delta Quadrant, they were completely on their own. All that backup disappeared. So, they had no friends. They had no idea where they were. And what I liked about that is so many people in life find themselves in the same situation at various points. And whether or not people get pulled away from friends, family, it could be losing their job. And in Voyager, when Janeway was in that situation, millions of miles away from home, all she had to keep her going was the knowing that her mission was to get the crew home. Correct. And the whole way through, she never gave up on that mission. No matter what was thrown at them, she had to find a way to deal with it without the help and the backup. And she had to create new allies and learn everything again. So almost everything that they'd learned in the Alpha Quadrant, they had to translate into Delta Quadrant. And I just loved that about Voyager, the fact that Janeway, she never faltered, she never gave up on her mission, and and also the moral battles that she had.
Yeah.
Fighting between what's best for the crew and the people that she felt responsible for, and still operating in that old system of the Prime Directive as well.
Yeah.
Just being put in a place where space didn't play by the same rules that they were used to. So that's
and that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it really is a good way of putting it, because everybody, like you were saying, in the Alpha Quadrant knew about most people knew about the Federation, knew about Starfleet, and she did have the ability to send a subspace message, and somebody can help them out eventually, a lot quicker than 70 years, or 75 years. And that was really cool about the fact that she did not, most of the time, she stuck to everything Starfleet and the Federation. And she made that as very clear honestly, in the very first episode on Caretaker, that when they integrated the crews, they were going to run as a Starfleet vessel and a ship. And that was it. They weren't going to, just because they were thrown 70,000 light years away, just throw the rule book out the window. So, and that helped. And I agree. Voyager was kind of a slow burn. And when I watched it initially, I was a little, I don't know. It took me a bit to get into it, but I actually do like it. I really did like it. And I've learned some stuff too, since being part of several other podcasts and Patreon groups, like the Delta Flyers. I was in San Antonio at SpaceCon convention in October, and I got to sit there and talk to Garrett Wang for a while.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he let us know of an issue that happened after the pilot premiered. It was very interesting.
I feel like there's some juicy gossip that you're about to divulge.
It's not even really, I wouldn't say it was gossip, but yes, he said Paramount, after the pilot premiered, had a range of phone calls come into them, all from, "This is awesome. It's about time we have a woman in the captain's chair," to threats. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I when he said that, I was like, are you kidding me?
Threats because they dared put a woman in charge.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, it's a little tidbit that I got to learn from him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was shocked that would happen, but the world wasn't ready at the time. And I don't even know if they are still to the day, but we're not going to go to there. So.
Yeah. But going back to Voyager. Oh, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, going back to Voyager, it was a testament to really knowing your values and sticking by your values and living by those values. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did surprise me today, because I was not expecting that to be your answer.
Really?
Because of how we met. I was thinking it'd be that other show.
Right. Well,
Enterprise.
It is. It is now. It is now. Voyager for such a long time was number one box set, the lot. And then this year, I took a massive leap of faith to watch Enterprise, and I had resisted it for such a long time because of Scott being captain, and I did not want to see Sam Beckett in a
Oh,
starship. And because I grew up with Quantum Leap, it was like, no.
same here.
And I could not get past it. When did it come out?
Enterprise,
2001? 2001, I think.
2001.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what we're now, 2024. So it's
so
taken,
24 years.
over 20 years for me to get over that little
Oh, that's
small
too funny.
detail. But now I would say Enterprise is now my favorite. Voyager is a very close second, but
Yeah.
it's just tipped over. I've watched it maybe the entire series maybe 4 times this year, and that's what's pushed it above, I think. And yeah, and the reason why it's overtaken Voyager is because it's set in a time that is so close to ours. I know it's set, in the future, but when you look at it, they're still learning. They're learning the warp
Yeah.
drive, and
Yeah.
they are starting that curiosity of space. And I kind of want to say we're not that far off. I don't believe we're that far off. When you look at technology today and how quick it's advancing,
Correct.
and then you look at Enterprise, you can believe it. I think
I
there's now
agree.
that element of, do you know what, this could happen. It's not millions of years in the future. This potentially could happen. So yeah, that's
Oh, I
Enterprise.
agree. And I think that's why it has become one of my favorite episodes of series as
Mm.
well. Because we actually got to watch them take their first steps into interstellar space. And they stumbled,
Yeah.
hard, but also they weren't expecting it to be like that out there. I feel Captain Archer expected everybody that they ran into to be like the Vulcans
Mm.
and other races that they had met who were friendly and weren't always shooting at them, um, which wasn't the case. And it really opened his eyes. And
Mm.
as much as I feel like he had to suck up his pride to understand that, even it's hard to say this, that the Vulcans were right in some aspects because humanity was maybe not fully ready.
But do you think though, that humanity would ever be fully ready to do
No,
that? You know,
how would we?
you've got to go out there and experience it
Yeah.
and learn
Mm-hmm.
how to approach everything, how to interact with these people by doing
Correct.
it. So
Oh no, there's no way of learning. That's the only way. Is you're going to stumble, and
so do you
hopefully you don't
think?
start any interstellar wars.
So do you think? So you genuinely think the Vulcans were correct to hold them back for such a long time?
Maybe not
Because
for that long, but for a while, yeah. Because obviously we don't know everything. It's a show, but we don't know everything about it. But they didn't even have photon torpedoes when they left, nor did they have all their weapons installed when they left. Um, and during the Zindi incident, he made it very clear he wished he'd had those weapons before they left. Which it also, it broke him. He grew, he changed as a character and as a captain. Um, Now, do I really think the Vulcans should have done what they did? I have to say yes. It kills me to say yes, but in the end, I think it was for the better. It saved humanity because could you imagine what would have happened if they would have gone out before they had Warp 5 and even more advanced weapons and run into the Klingons?
But isn't the whole premise behind the Vulcans is they were holding back progress? So they didn't want them to have the warp
True.
drive, and they were the ones that were stunting that
Very,
progression. You
very
know, so
true.
if they hadn't have intervened in such a big way,
Yeah.
they would
Wow,
have
that's a
had,
valid point too.
they would have had the technology. They just would have had it a lot sooner. So
True. And then again, maybe I don't know. But as we got to was it the last season, we learned why. I don't know if you remember this part, but we learned why the Vulcans resisted so much. Um, it's the one of the last scenes that Vaughn Armstrong was in when him and Ambassador Raval were talking, and Forrest asked him, "Are you afraid of humans?" And basically, he says yes because humans represented something that they remembered, which was Vulcans back when they were, fought all the time and didn't have logic. And what scared them was the fact that it took them 1,000 years, give or take, they said, to get over fighting and war, and humans did under a century.
yeah,
So that explains why they were scared, because they said if humanity could do that in 100 years, what will they do in 200 and 300 years? So I get it.
yeah, but that's true. It is true.
It is
Yeah.
true. So now I've got another question. So that's our series, but do you have a favorite episode?
Do you know what? I mean, the very, very superficial, high level one would be anything that had the guys in the decom chamber, or like honestly, that's the superficial one.
So
On a
Shuttlepod
deep,
1 would have
no,
probably been
no,
a great episode. Was it
no,
definitely
Shutter,
one when
no,
they were?
Shutter. Yeah, there were. I mean, you got the two great guys together, but they were
Mm-hmm.
covered up in blankets. So I'm thinking more when they're on the desert, for example, playing
Oh,
those
okay.
kind of episodes. But
Okay.
that is just the superficial
Yeah.
response. In terms of favorite episode from a deeper perspective, I
Yeah.
don't, because every time I watch them,
Mm-hmm.
I will say a different episode is my favorite because it depends where I am in life
Mm-hmm.
and mentally to
Yeah.
the episode that I'm watching.
It's understandable.
Yeah, I don't have a. If I had to pick an episode to watch over and over again, it would be I've forgotten what it's called, but it's the desert one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember the episode something but the name, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to remember the aliens that were in it, and
mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'm gonna say for a good episode that I really like was the Borg one called Regeneration, when they meet the Borg that were on Earth from First Contact. So
Yes.
I loved that twist. I really loved that twist.
Yeah.
It was good. And then, yeah, that's probably my favorite one in that regards. But then a good solid one was the one when the Ferengi board the ship. And we don't know it's the Ferengi. Well, they don't know. We do.
Yeah.
And always they still give him a hard time. They give Connor Trenier a hard time about that episode. He's running around in his blue underwear, and that was so funny. Even to this day, he still gets a hard time about that. So yeah, those are mine. Uh, Speaking of the guys,
Hmm.
did you have fun in Dallas at Trek to Dallas last month?
I did. I did. It was brilliant, and it was so good to the point where I'm a little bit nervous to go to another Star Trek convention. Um, yeah, the it, and I've heard people say this before. You have to go and experience it to
Mm-hmm.
understand it. But I feel I don't I'm still having trouble putting it into words how I felt while I was there. There was one day, I think it was the Saturday night, and I
Mm-hmm.
walked back into my hotel room,
Yeah.
and I, walked in, put my bag down on the bed, and I just stood there and went, "What a surreal day I've had."
Mm-hmm.
Has this day just actually happened? Because there were so many surreal things that I could
Mm-hmm.
never have imagined happened.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it just
It is a very eye-opening experience.